Okay, so I have attempted to record this video for you guys way too many times. It's supposed to be my first trimester, and I am nearing my second, or nearing the end of my second. But I'll talk about the second in a separate video once I get to the end of my second trimester, and then I can kind of break it up in that way. I did record an entire video for you already, but I didn't like it. And also, it was too much information, and not like a TMI kind of way, but there was just a lot that I included in that one video, and I really do kind of want to break that up into two separate things. I'm interested in sharing about my menstrual health and like my reproductive health and just the things that were going on when we were deciding to conceive, because like I say in the first video, this was an intentional attempt. This video I intend to be just about my first trimester. So if that is what you'd like to hear about, then you're in the right place. And I will hopefully do a separate video about, like I said, my health and things like that around deciding to become pregnant or attempt to become pregnant, or however people like to word that. That'll probably be beneficial for some people who are also considering that and might be dealing with some health issues of their own. But this video, like I said, is for those of you who are interested in hearing about my first trimester. So let's get into it. All right. So for those of you who don't know, and I had to look this up. And then even just now, to be more specific, I needed to use my app to understand. There is an app that I use. I can probably put in the description if anybody's interested in using an app to track your cycle. If you are hoping to conceive and you are trying to follow your ovulation and your period and all those kinds of things, it's a great app. I do pay for it just because I wanted to get the most out of it possible. But yeah, so I had to go back into the app to see when I technically when my first trimester technically started, because there's when you find out you're pregnant, but then there's when did you actually conceive, when did you actually become pregnant, right? Because it's not like that's the beginning of the gestational period or the beginning of gestation. It starts before you even realize, right? And so if I go back and look at the weeks, the estimate is that my first week of pregnancy was at the end of November, and I found out at the end of December. So that just means I was waiting for my next period to begin, and it didn't. And so from the end of November, when I had my last, to the beginning or to the end of December, when I was supposed to have my next, I was pregnant and I didn't know. And so this is a very interesting feeling to have to think about. So my first trimester, like I said, began at the end of November, and it runs from week 1 to 12 of gestation. So that's 12 weeks. And that would be the end of February. So like everything that's happened to me since November through February has probably been colored with what's been going on with my body and everything changing, right? Most likely. I can only speak to this. I'm not a doctor. I'm no medical professional. I can only speak to this because of information I received from my doctor, information I've received from reading books, looking at apps, Googling things really quickly. So please don't take this as medical advice. Please, 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 if you are pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant, see an obstetrician, see a gynecologist, see the professionals. Check up on any other health, talk to your primary care doctor. Really just make sure top to bottom you know what's going on with your body. If you have just realized you're pregnant, or if you're choosing to become pregnant, that's my recommendation, point blank. Don't take any of the rest of this as medical advice about what you should or shouldn't do. I can only tell you about my experience. And I really know from talking to people who have experienced a pregnancy before, or also I have two coworkers at my job now. Some people might see this video. Hey guys, two coworkers at my job now who are also pregnant, and I just feel like our stories all sound three very different ways, and that's just the nature of what pregnancy can look like. So my first trimester, in November, of course, Thanksgiving had just passed, and then throughout December, I'm going through a couple of holidays, right? There's Christmas and all this. when I actually found out I was pregnant, we were still on vacation. We were out of town. Absolutely crazy. But that was just the timing of how things fell. I didn't really plan for it to be like that. But like I said, I was following an app, and the app said if I didn't start my period by a certain date, or within a certain window, that I should take a test. So it's not like I was testing and crossing my fingers and maybe today, maybe this time, every time I felt like my cycle was off. Or I was like, did I miss? Is this me missing? Am I late? I didn't have a lot of question in the air about if I was late or not. So when I did take a pregnancy test, it was the first time, it was the only time that I took a pregnancy test. I mean, I took both in the box. I took one while we were gone and one when we got home. But I only took the pregnancy test that one time, and it was positive, and here comes the baby. So that really kind of helped to ease some of the anxiety of, let's take one and see, let's take one and see, let's take one and see. You know, this was the very first time. We only went through that process one time. And then we were staring at each other in the bathroom like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And I was getting to a place where I was just kind of dragging a little bit, and I didn't know why, but it's because I was probably about 4 weeks pregnant by the time I found out, 4 or 5 weeks maybe, by the time I actually found out. And I'm like, oh, interesting. That's why I'm kind of having a tough time. I didn't put those pieces together until later. So yeah, we came back home. Um, I think even while I was out of town, I may have called the doctor to try and schedule with them, but it may have been as soon as we got back. So I kind of changed up the way I was taking care of myself while we were out of town. I changed a little bit what I was eating. We did a little less strenuous activity. Not that we were doing anything crazy before that. I stopped wearing heels because I was already feeling uncomfortable, and I was like, you know what? Let's just lean into the comfort. And then we came home. I scheduled my appointment with who'd been my gynecologist, and also she's an OB. She's an obstetrician as well. And some people don't know that those are two different things. The gynecology is like general lady doctoring. The obstetrician is the one who walks you through a pregnancy and likely will deliver your baby. So my gynecologist, who I've been seeing for years, you can hear more about her if you watch the video on my menstruation and all those kinds of things. But my gynecologist, I've been seeing her for literal years. And so I went back to her like, hey, I called that office and I made an appointment and I went to see her, and there was 5 other new OB people who were becoming pregnant or trying or whatever the case may be. There were 4 or 5 other new OB patients in the office that day. It was absolutely crazy. They delayed it. Well, it felt like a delay to me. They were letting me know that her hours had changed and she wasn't in the office frequently as she used to be, but they would prioritize me as an OB patient, of course, because your appointments have to fall within certain time periods. And so they're not just going to take you when they can take you. They're going to put you on a particular schedule and prioritize where you are in the OB schedule. But they let me know that she wasn't there as frequently as she had been because she'd taken on some other responsibilities and things like that in the hospital. And so they set my appointment out for like maybe another 4 weeks or so. It was at least a month. And I was so anxious. Oh my goodness, the anxiety. And I was constantly talking to my husband about it. I really, that's one thing that has gotten me through, in a wonderful way. I feel so blessed to have him as my partner in all of this, as the father of this child, but there are other situations that I know that don't look like mine, and so I don't want to take mine for granted. And so we finally saw her. I was about 9 weeks when I did end up going in to see them, and I think they also had calculated a little bit, and maybe they intended to see me at that point. That's about the first time that you can have an ultrasound and you can hear the heartbeat and all of that. And so that's what we did. She did an ultrasound. She took a photo. We took it home. We put it in our pregnancy announcement, and there was also, we were able to listen to the fetal heartbeat. And so that was like a really crazy appointment. One thing that is really cool about my husband and his schedule and the way that his job works is he was able to be present at every appointment I have had so far. He's come with me every single time. And having him beside me has been really, really helpful. Like I'm already saying, like it's great to have him present, but to have him literally in the office with me, hearing what the doctor is saying, helping me to follow the recommendations, helping me to ask the questions when I have foggy pregnancy brain and don't know what's happening and can't think clearly through it. He has been super helpful. So if there's someone in your life, whether or not it's the father of the child, or maybe it's a parent, it's one of your parents or an aunt or an uncle or like a super, super tight best friend, take somebody with you to your appointments. That's just my personal thing. I like to have somebody else, number one, to hear the information when your head is swimming, and just to be kind of a support and an advocate for you, and somebody to just be a shoulder to lean on, right? Because sometimes we go into the doctor's office and we don't hear we don't hear exciting news, and sometimes we do hear exciting news, right? So you've got somebody right there to share that exciting news with, or somebody to say, oh man, that was tough to hear, and maybe you don't have to drive yourself back home after having a difficult appointment, right? I'm trying to keep my thoughts organized. I apologize if it feels like I'm all over the place. So one of the first things that comes up frequently when I talk to people about pregnancy is morning sickness. People ask me if I have had it, if I'm still having it. Some people have told me they've been nauseous their entire pregnancy. Like, this is what comes up, whether that person has experienced it themselves or they just know from hearing about what pregnancy looks like. They want to talk about morning sickness. It's very interesting that comes up first. But I feel like it's probably one of the most difficult pieces for people to deal with, especially, like I said, some people I've heard have dealt with it from from conception all the way through to the end of their pregnancy and have not had any relief until the end of their third trimester, until the labor and delivery. And that sounds terrifying, and I am so sorry to anybody who's experienced that. There is a scientific proper like name and diagnosis for it, but I can't think of it in the moment, and I'm not a medical professional anyway, like I said. So if you want to find out what it's actually called, go ahead and look it up, but it has a name. But yeah, for me personally, I was literally nauseous every day, 24/7. Every day I woke up and I was nauseous. I went to sleep nauseous. It kept me up at night. So by the time I did go to that first appointment with my OB, I was telling her about it, and she prescribed, and I'll talk about it next, but she prescribed a couple of things for me, just because it's typical and it's usual. And so I tried a few different things to help to subside the nausea. The blessing, thank the Lord, just the luck of the draw, is that I never got physically sick. I did not spend any amount of time in the bathroom, stuck in the bathroom with my head in the toilet. Like, that just wasn't a thing. There was one time that I did get sick, and I was waking up all night running to the bathroom. But that's probably just a side effect of a side effect of a side effect, right? It's not directly related to the pregnancy at all. It was because I got a sinus infection. I'll talk about that in a second. But I had a whole other illness, likely because my immune system has taken a huge hit. And so it was difficult for my body to deal with that. I had this ridiculous coughing fit all night, so much so, like I said, that I ended up, in the bathroom a few different times, and I just couldn't get it under control. It took a while, but it was mostly just that night. Oh, besides that, like I said, I haven't been stuck in the bathroom or anything like that. It was the entire time until I hit my second trimester, I was nauseous, like dizzy, head spinning, wanting to have some kind of relief, like if it could just come out. But it just didn't happen that way. One thing that usually helped was to eat. And it feels so like counterintuitive, but a lot, even in my pre-pregnancy life, getting hungry felt like getting sick to me. Like, my whole body was ready to shut down, and I would get dizzy, and I felt like I was gonna pass out, and I sometimes would get like a weird hiccup. But when I was hungry, like, I was starving, and that was just my body in general. I don't know if it was metabolism related or whatever, but it was an indicator, like, okay, Virginia, it's time to eat, right? So during pregnancy, when my body started feeling like really nauseous and really sick, it helped to eat. I had a taste for the blandest things, y'all. I wanted everything plain, plain, plain. I wanted a little cracker. I wanted a little oatmeal. I wanted a little applesauce. All of the basic things that people tell you to eat, like when you're sick, because it's supposed to make you feel better. Soup was my best friend. Oh my goodness, I loved a good soup. But really it was mostly just important for me to eat as soon as I started feeling like that. Usually it was like, or when it got worse, there'd be a bigger wave of it. And then like, okay, I really need to eat right now. And eating was helpful. And so I ate frequently, not, I didn't eat a lot of food, but I ate often. And even now I still do, but I ate often. And I try to keep it healthy. I try to make sure it was like, nuts or, um, like I said, things like toast, light things, a little cereal, some granola, you know, um, plain foods, stuff that just didn't have a whole lot of seasoning or flavor to it, stuff that had sauces and all that on me with, or things that had like sauces and all that on it was, yeah, it was kind of, I had a lot of aversion to anything that was like too much. And I turned that kind of stuff down. I didn't want it. I was very particular about what I could eat. Salads kicked in really quickly for me. I wanted a lot of salad, and I ended up buying romaine like once a week just so I could make my own salads at home. I bought romaine and little cherry tomatoes and cucumbers, and I bought dressing, to put like 3 or 4 different kinds of dressing. I bought, and I was like, wait, okay, now I want this kind of salad. Now I want that kind of salad. And so I get different dressing and different cheeses, like different veggies. Oh my gosh, I said that. Cucumbers and peppers, all kinds of different things that I put on my salads. Like just having that fresh, light flavor just was really easy on my stomach. I didn't have any aversion to stuff like that. I wanted it more. So soup and salad was like my best friend. Okay, another thing that I want to talk about is medication. I think that's like a huge one for most people, is having to deal with um, what to take, what not to take, what's safe, what's okay. All those kinds of questions come up. Like I said, one of my coworkers is unable to take a lot of medications that they were taking before to treat some different diagnosis that they had, because they're not safe for her any longer. And I was like, oh, I couldn't imagine. Like, I hope she's finding balance, or maybe there's some other things to replace it with. But when I talk medication, I don't just mean like, pills and over the counter things or stuff that you're taking that's been prescribed to you or whatever. I mean things like Tums, y'all. I mean things like Unisom, which is a safe sleep aid that I took for a couple of weeks because I was really having a lot of trouble falling asleep, and it didn't feel good. I really needed to make sure I got my sleep, and so I was taking that as a sleep aid. Um, I believe I'd read somewhere that melatonin wasn't okay, and so I tried something else. Now, the Unisom was prescribed by my doctor, and I believe she prescribed it when I was talking to her about the nausea, but I'm like, it's a sleep aid. It's not really a nausea medication, but maybe she just gave it to me to make sure I could sleep at night. That there was the Unisom that she prescribed, and then the B6. Now, neither of those things, both of these things you can just find in the pharmacy, but they're in my list of prescribed things, like this is safe for you to take. Do you know what I'm saying? They're on my chart. Other things, I bought some ginger chews. I don't even know where that container is because those were trash. I hated the way they tasted. Did not want those. Um, the main thing I took, especially when I was having debilitating back pain and I was stuck in bed. That's another thing. I spent a month sick, y'all. 2 weeks sinus infection, 2 weeks of back pain so bad I couldn't stand. I literally couldn't stand up. I could barely lay down. I had to find really particular positions, which is hard because I'm already pregnant and I have to lay a certain way, or at least I was trying to learn how to lay a certain way, because it's not so necessary yet, but at a certain point it will be. I'm already practicing now to lay on my side, the safest way that a lot of doctors and just all the breeding will tell you. So yeah, the B6, the Unisom, Tylenol was the only thing I could really take for pain, or any like headache, all those things. It was the only pain reliever that was told was safe enough for me to take. And Tylenol is technically acetaminophen. That's the scientific, doctory name for it or whatever, but it's Tylenol. That's probably the safest and only safe thing for pregnant women to take when it comes to like painkillers and things like that. Stuff like Aleve and Advil and Motrin or whatever, not allowed. One of the things that my doctor gave me when I first had that first visit was a folder full of things, and inside of that folder is 2 pages of what I call my safe list. I referred back to that list every time I felt some kind of icky symptoms, and look to see, is this okay? Is it on the approved list? Um, Sometimes I Googled things, but for the most part, I would look at that list to see what was already listed. I bought some throat lozenges on the list. I bought my Lanta at a certain point. That might be more like second trimester, but still ended up buying my Lanta on the list. Tylenol's on the list, and then there are all the no-nos in there as well. Things that are just not safe for you at all. If anybody's interested in having my list, let me know. That's from the doctor, so that's not Virginia's list, but it's just the one that I have that was given to me at my obstetrician office. Prenatal vitamin. I was prescribed that prenatal as soon as I found out, oh no, as soon as I decided to start trying. My gynecologist prescribed a prenatal to me, and I finished that bottle by the time I was actually finding out that I was pregnant, and she gave me a new bottle, and I've been taking that. It really does contain a lot of the bulk of the important vitamins and minerals. Is it vitamins and minerals? Whatever's in a multivitamin, essentially. All the things that are tailored toward what the pregnant body needs and what is going to be helpful for the development of that baby. So prenatal every single day. Tap myself on the wrist a little bit because some days I forget, but most days I'm taking that prenatal vitamin. Robitussin. I found out, well, no, didn't find out. When I realized that I was kind of sick while we were on this vacation and we did drive, one of the first stops we made for food was also at kind of like a gas station place. I bought some Robitussin. And also I was drinking Emergency, like the vitamin C powder packets. I was drinking Emergency because really that's just more vitamin C and it's nothing unsafe, for my body or for the baby. So the Emergency and the Robitussin and the Tylenol, I bought all of those things. They were some of the first medications I bought after finding out that I was pregnant that I knew would be safe for me to take. And so I did take the Robitussin, and it did help a lot because I had it was basically a cold. And so what I needed was like a cough suppressant. I needed something to deal with like what was going on in my throat. I was very particular about what kind of cough drops I took. I just had the Halls. I'm used to taking Ricola, but I think there's like some herbs or some other things in there that are not supposed to be safe for me to take. And so baby's fluttering now. Some things that weren't supposed to be safe for me to take. And so I said, let me just get the Halls because it's just straight up like lemon, honey, whatever's in there. And there's not a whole lot of other crazy stuff inside of those drops. And that is really what helped me to clear up what was going on in my throat. I had, like I said, the cough drops, just the Halls, like a lemon Halls, Robitussin, and Tylenol to get me through that illness. Since then, I have tried to avoid any and everything. Somebody coughing, sneezing around me, I please don't touch me. Don't breathe this way. I started wearing a mask at work because I work with kids. I've worn a mask around the house recently. Again, more second trimester type things, but wore a mask around the house recently because my family was sick and I can't afford to get anything. And then also I have this in my hand. I went to pick it up. It's BioFreeze. I got this for my back, the back pain. Now, there's not a lot, like I said, you can take for pain, but I've started doing stretches because I had 2 weeks, like I said, where I was stuck in bed. And some of that is pre-existing stuff for me. I've dealt with back pain for the last 10 years. And so when I realized, of course, that back pain comes with pregnancy, I did not know that it would exacerbate my, it would exacerbate pain that I've already dealt with before. And the doctor took it a little lightly, but I wanted, to be pretty serious about it. And so I got stuck in bed, unfortunately, because we really didn't get ahead of it enough. And so I ended up seeing my primary care because I was out of work. I did not go into that job. I couldn't stand. I couldn't be there. I was going to be useless. So I went to see the primary care just to get a note to excuse me from those days that I was away from work, from the call-offs. And then also she gave me some stretches to do. So she said, all I can give you Tylenol. I can't give you anything else. And I'm like, I know. And so she gave me some stretches to do. And I do those stretches 2 or 3, maybe once or twice a day now, especially extra if I do start feeling a little ache in my back. And that's what's my saving grace right now. It really does keep me together. And then again, if I do start feeling like a little pain coming, I will sit down, I will lay down, I will, kind of shut down what I'm doing and take a break. I have to give myself a break when I need a break. Especially in that first trimester, I was already fatigued constantly. Now, that's one other thing that's a frequent symptom that I was just like, I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to listen to my body and I'm not going to fight it. I spent so much time in bed, so much time asleep. Um, but yeah, the BioFreeze helped as well for my back. BioFreeze, stretches, sleeping properly, all that. I couldn't get up. I was so exhausted. And then, like I said, there was a good month. I think it was mostly just in February, um, especially probably post Valentine's Day. Sinus infection and the back spasms is what really got to me. But I think those things were just stuff that I already kind of deal with that hit me harder because my immune system is down, because I can't fight them the same way that I normally would. That's one thing I didn't mention. I could still take the Flonase, and so I took the Flonase. According to the doctor, it was okay, and I took the Flonase. And then also, some people at work, thank you, recommended I use a neti pot. Terrifying experience. I felt like I was drowning. I was waterboarding myself, but it helped just to clear out the passages. And also, it was a safe thing for me to do as long as I use distilled water. And then because it was just lingering so much, by the time I did see the primary care, she prescribed me an antibiotic. She said it was a class B. I've been reading about classes of medication. That's the kind of stuff that helps you decide whether or not it's safe for you. Look into that on your own. Again, I'm not the expert to ask, but she prescribed me an antibiotic and said, this will be safe for you to take. There were 5 pills I took over 4 days. I took 2, then 1, and it cleared up. Boom, it was gone. And that was kind of the most important thing to me. I wasn't going to be on, any kind of unnecessary medication for a lengthy amount of time. It was nothing I needed to take beyond, okay, now you're better. The infection cleared up, and then I got back to my usual. But yeah, I think that might cover, which isn't really a long list of different kind of medications that I've taken throughout my first trimester. I think overall during my first trimester, I had 2 appointments with the OB because now I'm in my second and I had a 3rd appointment and it was for my anatomy ultrasound. But again, check the next video for that. 2 appointments with her. One of them was hey, you're pregnant. And the second one was, everything's all good. And that feels really weird to me. I did do genetic testing. They drew blood. They tested me for a lot of different things, like diagnosis and illnesses that I could be a carrier for. And so it was mostly recommended for me because I'm what they call a geriatric pregnancy. I'll be over 36 when I birth my child. And so that really does make me older, and it puts me at risk of some other things. And so she thought it'd be important that I do that. And so I did end up doing that, having that blood drawn. And I have a list. I think there are 14 things on that list. So if you feel like that's something that you're a little nervous about, if there's anything in your family history that you might want to make sure you and your partner do or don't have, go for it and do that. So that's something that was important to me to do. But it wasn't 100% necessary, but she did recommend and convince me that that would be a good idea, and I appreciate that. Other appointments, so she was constantly available by message. If you have an OB who you can contact in between appointments, especially if maybe it's your first pregnancy and you're just a little nervous about different things, or maybe you have some other health conditions you're concerned about, etc., then make sure you get somebody who's reachable. We use a patient portal, and so I can easily just get on and type her a message real quick, and sometimes she'll get back the same day, next day. Nothing urgent, of course, but little concerns that I had, I put in there. I do have now a 20-pound restriction at my job. Like I said, I work with children, and all of them have special needs, and a lot of them require lifting. And so most of them, if they're over 40 pounds, require 2 people for us to lift. So one person gets the legs, the other is at the top of the body. But I've been put on a restriction that essentially makes it so I can't do that any longer, which is safer, much, much safer for my body. And I can only lift up to 20 pounds now. And now I'm like, oh, right, anywhere I'm only lifting less than 20 pounds. Like, even if I'm at home, like sometimes carrying the laundry basket up the stairs. I know that sounds so crazy. We've got 2 sets of stairs to get up with laundry from our basement. But I have lift restrictions now. So it's documented, it's written in a doctor's note, and my supervisors do have that at work so that they know what work not to give me, which children not to assign to me, things like that, just to make sure that I'm being the safest that I can be while I continue to work there, up until, you know, I take my maternity leave so I can have my baby. Not. All right. One other thing I'll talk about is things I bought to be comfortable. I was like a little anxious at first, not anxious, a little nervous at first to buy maternity clothes. But I was like, girl, there's no room down here for your regular pants anymore. You got to get something different. And so I bought a couple pairs of what look like jeans, but they have the maternity material to make room for your belly at the top. My mother has given me so many clothes that she doesn't really wear that, you know, are a little larger, and gonna accommodate my bump. She actually gave me what I think is gonna be my Easter dress. But one of the first things I did was I ordered a pregnancy pillow. Can I show you? It's right next to me. This is gonna be a crazy shot. Ugh, my pregnancy pillow. Oh my gosh. There they are. There it is. You get an idea of what that thing is. It goes all the way around my body. It's got a little opening on one end. But I have been sleeping with this pillow for many weeks now. Sleeping with this pillow for many weeks. I also have underneath me, and I'm not going to go through the nonsense of trying to show you that. Underneath me on my side of the bed is a twin size like firm mattress topper, because I needed a firmer mattress to lay on because of my back. And so it's helped a lot to lay on something different than, like, our bed isn't super soft, but also it's probably too soft for me. And so having the topper to give me a little more firmness and to give me some more to like spread out the I don't even know how to describe that. Again, I'm no expert on things like that either. But the mattress topper helps. The pregnancy pillow helps. And if I ever talk to anybody about being in my nest, this is where I am, in my cozy side of the bed. Because hubby doesn't have this mattress topper on his side. We got a twin. It was like $6 maybe at a Meijer. So that is other stuff that I purchased to help me. But yeah, I started changing up my wardrobe. I've been wearing looser pants and sweatshirts. I don't know what's gonna happen in the summer. But yeah, those are some big things that I did to make sure I was comfortable. Again, when it came to the back pain, that was a huge remedy for me, is just to make sure laying down was safe and comfortable and not going to exacerbate any of my issue. Because sometimes laying down is more trouble than you know, getting up and moving around, but I still need to sleep at night, right? And so I made myself a comfortable little nest in my bed, and that's where I spent probably most of my first trimester. But yeah, I feel like I've covered a lot of information. Hopefully that's helpful for somebody, or it's just cool to hear about and you just want to know what's going on with me, nosy. No, it's fine. I don't mind sharing. But yeah, I continue to talk with everyone. I mean, you know, there's a lot of people who text, people who call, people who check in, and I appreciate that so much. Please continue to do this. As I'm midway through, I'm like 20 weeks today, so we're halfway. But everything's still going great. A lot of healthy reports, a lot of great reports from the doctor. Again, that boom, bam, out of the office is, I love that, because if I don't need to be poked and prodded, or if there's no, you know, bad news walking out of there, then that's fine. I don't mind having driven all that way for you to tell me that I'm fine. But yeah, appreciate all your encouragement. Our gender reveal is in a couple of weeks, so by the time I do the next video, I should be able to tell you guys what it is. I have ultrasound pictures and all kinds of fun things to share in the next video. I have other news and chit-chatting to talk with you guys about. These videos are so unpolished, but it's just for the purpose of being able to talk to you guys about what's going on with me. I'm not trying to monetize. This is for friends and family and anybody else who might come across it, who it's helpful for them. Maybe I'm putting you to sleep. Because I watch videos that help me to sleep too on YouTube. But yeah, thank you so much for being here, even in this capacity. The opportunity to just kind of, you know, document and get it down, and share it in this way is helpful for me too. So be blessed and have a great whatever you're gonna have after you leave from this video.